Hey everyone, it's Matthew Lee with the Tao of Kung Fu, and welcome to the Fight Lab. Today I wanted to talk about something kind of unique to martial arts, and I see this a lot particularly in martial artists that do traditional styles like Taekwondo and Karate and Kung Fu, where people have a tendency to overtrain and go to the extreme and actually end up doing themselves some damage. Take the splits for example. I've just been training a really long time, and I used to be like really OCD about training and crazy training and did a lot of it. When I was young, I actually went into the splits in one day, and when I decided I was going to do the splits, decided to go in one day, and I just stretched for about 3.5 hours straight, and I was in the splits. So that was great because I made my goal, I did the splits, but what a lot of people don't realize is the next 4 days I didn't hardly walk because I had overstretched the fascia in the joints and I had done a lot of damage, and it hurt. It really caused me long-term injury, but it definitely hurt. So is it a necessity though to actually do the splits and train to such a degree that you're doing that? I don't really believe so. I think a lot of people get caught up on doing the splits and thinking that it's going to give them some magic martial skill, which is not true. The idea is like yoga. Since we're in a yoga center, we're going to talk about yoga philosophies. The idea that works, that's the healthiest for you, that's the best for you, is slow progress over a long period of time. The key word is progress. A lot of skills, if you gain them quickly, you can lose them quickly as well. So just like if you do the splits in one day, you might not walk for the next 4 days, which means you're not doing the splits either over the next 4 days. Your muscles cramp up and your joints freak out, and so it actually can hinder you and it can make it more difficult to get into the splits later. Where if you go little by little, like over the period of maybe 6 months, and you just get closer and closer each time, and that's your goal. Your goal is not the splits, your goal is closer and closer. Then, before you know it, you're surprising yourself and you're in the splits. You jump into like a cold day and you can be 80% in the splits cold without any warm-up or anything like that. So I wanted to show you, I changed my processing and I changed the way I thought about it to where I came in here today cold, and this is my cold stretch right here without any kind of warm-up or anything, and I'm almost in the splits. So extreme training isn't necessarily healthy for you. Again, if you gain a skill fast, then you lose it quickly too. It works this way for everything, for diet, for muscle training. People that do steroids and gain quick muscle, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize with that is that as soon as they cycle off of the steroids, they lose 10 to 20% of the muscle that they gained. Sometimes even a lot more. If they would have just gone a little naturally, it would have taken maybe a little bit longer time, but you don't lose any of the muscle. And weight is the same. If you lose 10 pounds in a couple of weeks, it's very easy to gain that 10 pounds back, and usually 5 more pounds with it. But if you take 6 months and you lose 10 pounds over the course of 6 months, you don't even notice they're gone, and then suddenly you go, hey, I'm even at my goal weight and I'm feeling great. As a final example, of course, I had the pleasure of training about a year and a half ago with Grandmaster Chuck Sullivan in the Kempo system. And he was out in Las Vegas and celebrating his 80th birthday. And two things about Grandmaster Chuck that I thought were really, really cool. Number one, how nice of a guy he was. He didn't want anything from anybody. He was very generous and just very cool and mellow and didn't care, you know, everybody was really respectful of him, but you could tell it was because he was a nice person and that he had earned it. The second thing that was cool was he was 80 years old and moved like a teenager. And I'm not kidding. He was fast, he was powerful, he had timing, he had spirit in his eyes. He was like all over the place and just nonstop and super cool. It was great to see. And we had a mixed group of people there with us. And the instructor who was hosting him was asking Grandmaster Chuck to give a piece of advice because there was a lot of students there who were in their early teens and even younger. And the advice that Grandmaster Chuck gave was an excellent piece of advice. He said, don't injure yourself and make sure, keep yourself healthy, and that is what will give you longevity through the martial arts. And that's the best advice. It's great. Don't train to the point where you're injuring yourself. Keep yourself healthy and do anything that it takes to stay healthy. That is self-defense.